Ballyclare District Historical Memorial Association. Paedophiles in the ranks of Sinn Fein Provisional IRA. Provisional, a word used to describe the criminal organisation known as Sinn Fein Provisional IRA that recruits, facilitates and protects paedophiles within its ranks and silences their victims by threat of death. Don't be sold on the old romanticism of the Irish Republican cause, or for that matter, the new version of history that Sinn Fein Provisional IRA are trying to sell us. Throughout their history and to date, Sinn Fein Provisional IRA members have been linked to allegations and convictions of sexual abuse. Sadly, convictions for these crimes, especially against children, are few and far between. NORAID, the Irish Northern Aid Committee, is an Irish-American organisation known for raising funds for nationalist relief groups. However, it has been accused by British, Irish and United States governments of being a front for the funding of IRA arms importation. These governments also accused NORAID of being a front for the Provisional IRA. I wonder if NORAID members who believe they are supporting Irish freedom fighters in a just cause are aware that they are in fact funding Sinn Fein Provisional IRA predators, helping them to remain free. Their hard-earned American dollars, which they so ignorantly send, help keep countless paedophiles and rapists free to continue their sexual crimes against their own people. This narration is from extracts taken directly from the Irish Observer blogspot, written by ex-Sinn Fein Provisional IRA member Vincent McKenna, cousin of IRA terrorist Kevin McKenna. It is paramount that the public should be fully informed about Sinn Fein Provisional IRA and the hundreds of abusers and paedophiles who have been protected by their leadership. Sinn Fein Provisional IRA have many supporters in many roles in our society. The blog claims that Sinn Fein had a policy to protect abusers and silence abuse victims. They had procedures in their kangaroo courts to carry out threats and punishments against the abused victim if they would not stay silent. And they had the finances and infrastructure to clear houses and relocate offenders into unsuspecting local communities. Leading members of Sinn Fein Provisional IRA who have admitted to their leadership that they were sex criminals and child abusers are Gerry Adams Sr., Liam Adams, Marty Morris, Seamus Marley, Ruby Davison, Breege Meehan, Michael Marin, and many more were and continue to be protected by Sinn Fein Provisional IRA. Only a handful of these abusers have actually appeared before the courts. Their victims remain silenced by the threat of death. In the 1990s, Gerry Adams' brother Liam Adams was describing himself on the front page of a regional paper as a paedophile hunter, when in fact he was the paedophile, having abused his own daughter from she was 4 years old until she was 9 years old. Liam Adams was a senior member of both the Provisional IRA and Sinn Fein. He was promoted in both organisations even after he was outed as a serial child abuser. The leadership sent Liam to Dundalk alongside alleged MI6 agent Martin McGuinness to open the new Sinn Fein office. It had been rumoured McGuinness had been recruited after covert surveillance recorded him abusing a female child. Liam died while serving 15 years for the rape of his 4-year-old daughter. Gerry Adams Sr., the father of Gerry and Liam, had abused dozens of children in West Belfast. And while the Sinn Fein Provisional IRA leadership knew that Gerry Adams Sr. was a serial child abuser, they afforded him a full-style Sinn Fein Provisional IRA funeral. Gerry Adams has admitted that he knew for many years that his brother Liam and his father were both child abusers. Yet prosecutors at the time directed no prosecution of the then Sinn Féin president Gerry Adams over claims he withheld information about his brother's child abuse from the police. Marty Morris, a Sinn Féin Provisional IRA member who has been publicly named as the person who raped Maria Cahill. Belfast woman Maria Cahill detailed on the BBC Spotlight programme how she was raped in 1997 while a teenager and later interrogated by the IRA about her case. She said there were other women and men who had been treated in the same way. I have met with victims in similar situations, and I have also met with former senior provisional members of the IRA who confirmed that they internally investigated cases of abuse. I think at this point it is completely ludicrous of Sinn Féin to keep denying the issue. She also pointed to the fact that Mary Lou MacDonald had previously called on anybody within the Catholic Church who had been found to have covered up abuse to be arrested and prosecuted and face the full rigours of the law. Maria Cahill went on to say, I am challenging Mary Lou MacDonald to come out again and call on those members within Sinn Féin currently, and I don't think there is any doubt about this, who have been found to have covered up cases of child sexual abuse to be arrested, prosecuted and face the full rigours of the law. Nobody should be above the law on this issue. Seamus Marley, son of leading Sinn Féin Provisional IRA member Larry Marley, was moved from Belfast by the leadership after admitting sexual crimes. He was moved to the leadership safe house in Louth, where he attacked 2 children. He was then moved to Dublin and was given a letter of recommendation by Sinn Féin Provisional IRA so that he could secure work with autistic children. He was later sentenced to 7 years for abusing 2 young boys. Brendan Ruby Davison was a senior member of Sinn Féin Provisional IRA in Belfast. He sat on the command staff of the Provisional IRA with Gerry Adams. Ruby Davison was in fact a prolific child abuser. The Sunday World disclosed details of how Davison had forced a 12-year-old boy to engage in a bizarre cross-dressing sexual ritual before raping him. When questioned by the leadership, he admitted that he had raped at least 12 underage boys, and yet Ruby was allowed to continue his role as a Provisional IRA enforcer. Gerry Adams carried the coffin of Ruby Davison as he was given a full Sinn Féin Provisional IRA funeral, knowing he was a child abuser. Briege Meehan was the wife of Provisional IRA commander Martin Meehan. Briege Meehan faced a host of charges, including sexual assault and other abuses of a child. Based upon a guilty plea, she was convicted of child abuse and child cruelty, and the sexual assault charges were left on the books. Mickey Marin, ex-bomber and Sinn Féin activist, pleaded guilty to raping a female child after the victim's family had to move out of the area to seek justice. He was sentenced to 3 years for abusing young children in the Republican stronghold of Barcroft Park in Newry. Of the initial list of 41 Sinn Féin Provisional IRA members drawn up by their leadership to receive comfort letters from MI6, 27 on that list were alleged to be Sinn Féin Provisional IRA sex criminals. In 2014, Gerry Adams, under political pressure, handed over a list of 27 Sinn Féin Provisional IRA abusers who were protected by their leadership and moved secretively into the Irish Republic. Taoiseach Enda Kenny, Taoiseach Joan Burton and Fianna Fáil leader Michael Martin joined in a debate calling on Mr Adams to tell the relevant authorities what he knows about the movement of offenders across the border. Mr Kenny said that Sinn Féin IRA had covered up abuse, moved the perpetrators around so the untouchables would remain untouchable outside of Northern Ireland. They thought so much of this republic that they would honour us with their rapists, gift us their child abusers under that so-called elite Republican dispensation, he said. Meath East Regina Doherty said she had the names of 8 alleged abusers relocated to the Republic by Sinn Féin. She said, "To be honest with you, I am too afraid to name them here," adding that she would give the names to the Garda. Mr Kenny said the debate was brought about by the courage of Maria Cahill and the allegations she had made. In 2017, the then Sinn Féin president, Gerry Adams, lodged a formal complaint with the GSOC that the Garda have been leaking to the media the names of alleged Republican sex offenders that he had supplied to the force. Mr Adams wants the Garda, he says, that are responsible for the leaks both identified and sanctioned. In 1999, Martin Forbes was on the original list of 41 Sinn Féin Provisional IRA on the runs to be given a comfort letter. This freedom fighter is now serving 15 years for raping a number of children in the Irish Republic. He targeted several women online to gain access to their children. In 2000, in Monaghan Circuit Court, one of Ireland's most prolific paedophiles, Ballybay school headmaster Michael Fein, who had pleaded guilty to sexually assaulting 12 children, including bondage, produced a character reference from the then Northern Ireland Education Minister Martin McGuinness. One of Feeney's victims, John McAviney, told the court that it would be easier to count the children Feeney didn't abuse. Provisional IRA bomber Darcy McMenamin. He was released under the Good Friday Agreement. He sexually abused 2 children aged 8 and 7 and first appeared in court in 2020, a week after being deported from the United States. Dungannon Crown Court heard how victim 1 was aged 7 when McMenamin pounced, and after the vicious attack he warned her that this was their secret and if she told anyone, bad men would take her mummy and daddy. The child was targeted a second time when McMenamin reminded her of their secret. She fled, but McMenamin followed and brutally attacked her again, warning her that she would be taken away if she told. Victim 2 was aged 8 when she was playing hide and seek with friends and found herself alone with McMenamin in a shed. He caused her to carry out a vile act on him. McMenamin avoided going to jail and was merely handed a 3-year probation order and has to remain on the sex offender register for only 5 years. Brendan Toll was a member of Sinn Féin Provisional IRA when he was moved from Armagh following allegations of child sexual abuse. Brendan was moved to Monaghan Town, where he was arrested on 2 occasions for sexually abusing children. Brendan Toll is father of Monaghan Sinn Féin councillor Malachy Toll and grandfather of Donna Toll, who set herself up as a child protection campaigner in 2000, at a time when a member of her family was before Monaghan Circuit Court for the systematic sexual assault of a number of children in North Monaghan. Other members of her extended family are well known to Child Protective Services and the Garda in Monaghan. In 2000, two young girls from North Monaghan went to the Garda and told how they had been sexually abused over many years by their Sinn Féin Provisional IRA uncle. Garda arrested the uncle and he voluntarily admitted the abuse of several young girls. The Sinn Féin Provisional IRA member was charged with dozens of sexual assault charges and the case was to proceed as normal. However, two members of Sinn Féin Provisional IRA went to the home of the two young victims and ordered them to withdraw their evidence against their uncle or their family would be burned out of the community. The two young girls withdrew their evidence and their uncle walked away a free man. In 2020, the self-confessed paedophile has access to young children on a daily basis, both north and south of the border. He has no conditions placed on him, and the only way he can be prosecuted is if Sinn Féin Provisional IRA lift the death threat against the now young woman and their family. Jimmy McDonnell, a Sinn Féin councillor and GAA caretaker from Longford, had been sentenced to 12 years with 4 suspended for the horrific sexual abuse of 4 children aged between 4 and 12 years old. He pleaded guilty to 45 sample charges out of over 140 offences. He served only 5 years behind bars for sexual assault, sexual exploitation and the production, possession and distribution of child pornography. Eamon Captain Cook was a member of Sinn Féin Provisional IRA in Dublin during the hunger strikes. Eamon Captain Cook, a former DJ, provided Sinn Féin IRA with radio equipment so that they could operate pirate radio stations. Over several decades, Eamon was a prolific paedophile and he was the liaison officer for Sinn Féin Provisional IRA rapists, arranging clearing houses in North Dublin. He was first tried in relation to sex offences in 2003, where he was convicted of the attempted rape of 4 girls. This conviction was quashed on a technicality. In 2007, he was on trial again. He had threatened one of his victims and had a previous conviction for an arson attack against another of his victims. Cook pleaded not guilty to all 42 charges, but was found guilty and sentenced to 10 years. In 2016, he was implicated in the disappearance of 13-year-old Philip Cairns. The Garda questioned Cook, and although he was reported to have confirmed some details, he did not reveal the location of young Philip's body. Christy Griffin was a key player in the robbery of high-value goods from Dublin docks over many years. He was working with Sinn Féin Provisional IRA unit who were fundraising for the terrorist organisation, and he served 15 years for child abuse. Rossi Walsh was heavily involved with Sinn Féin Provisional IRA in Dublin, and he was involved in many fundraising activities, including racketeering and robbery. Rossi Walsh was serving 10 years for child abuse. Sinn Féin Provisional IRA hero Michael Pete Ryan, who was shot dead by the SAS in 1991, had escaped from Crumlin Road Jail in 1981, and within a couple of days of escaping, he was abusing a child at a safe house in Meath. At the time of his death, Michael Pete Ryan had left Dr. Marion Smith pregnant, Mary Caffrey pregnant, and a 12-year-old girl pregnant. The 12-year-old did not know she was pregnant. She gave birth, placed the baby in a hot press to keep it warm, and it was found dead 2 days later. Father Brendan Smith, who viciously abused hundreds of children over decades, was protected by Sinn Féin Provisional IRA in Belfast while he was based on the Ormeau Road. 2 families who complained to the Belfast leadership that their children had been sexually abused by Brendan Smith were forced out of the area, and the priest was protected. Senior Republican Brendan Curran says he was told to stay silent about another paedophile priest by his Sinn Féin peers. Brendan Curran is a former Irish Army-trained sniper who was jailed at the age of 18 in 1973 for 15 years for attempting to murder a British soldier. He made the sensational claims as he announced his resignation from Newry and Mourne District Council. The priest is dead now, but he was in every school in the Newry area for years and abused children in every one of them, he said. People have been coming forward. I raised it with the Republican movement 10 years ago and was told to drop it. It was a negative story. Mr. Curran added, the leadership was aware of this being raised. More recently, Sinn Féin press officer Michael McMonigal, who was working with Sinn Féin's most senior elected representatives at Stormont, Westminster and the European Parliament, was in August 2023 charged with attempting to incite a child to engage in sexual activity online, communicating with a child online for the purpose of obtaining sexual gratification, attempting to get a child to look at an image of a person engaging in sexual activity. However, when Michael McMonigal was supposed to appear in court in Londonderry on the 2nd of August 2023, he had absconded and a warrant was issued for his arrest. Sinn Féin councillor Cahill McLaughlin was not dismissed from Sinn Féin until 2022, after he had actually been convicted of a sexual assault against a waitress in a restaurant, which went to trial in Scotland under Section 3 of the Sexual Offences Scotland Act in 2009. The offence in question took place in Scotland on October the 15th, 2021. Freddie Scappaticci, member of the IRA and close associate of Gerry Adams, admitted to 2 counts of possessing extreme pornography. The charges including 329 images, most of which were bestiality. An article in the Sunday Herald on September 1999 highlighted how the rape of women and children is being used by Sinn Féin Provisional IRA as a weapon of torture. The Rape Crisis Centre Belfast is quoted, "1 in every 4 clients that we deal with, women and children, have been raped by Sinn Féin Provisional IRA members. In some instances, mothers have been warned at gunpoint to take their raped child to England for an abortion." In 1998, a Catholic mother cried as she spoke about how she was ordered at gunpoint to take her 12-year-old daughter to England for an abortion after the child had been raped by a senior Sinn Féin Provisional IRA member. The leadership feared the baby's DNA could be used to identify the Sinn Féin Provisional IRA rapist. For decades, Sinn Féin Provisional IRA have been given political cover by corrupt politicians, but that cover is becoming threadbare as the real face of Sinn Féin Provisional IRA continues to show itself in the form of gratuitous criminality. While Sinn Féin Provisional IRA called for inquiries into the abuse of children within the Catholic Church, they continue to excuse the abusers in their own ranks, for Sinn Fein Provisional IRA are embedded in criminality. If you're enjoying our channel, please let us know by clicking on the like, share and subscribe icons below. And thank you for your continued support.